Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Monday, February 19th. We're going to take a look at Palantir today. So Palantir continuing to hold this push that it's been engaging with since it shot up on earnings, plus 30%, almost 31% on that day, and then it grabbed another almost 8, and then almost 4, and then a little bit of jitteriness for a couple of days, and then back up almost 5%, and then trying to sort of engage with and see what it wants to do with that 24.50 to $25 psychological level. We've talked a lot previously about that psychological $20 level, and it's pretty securely above that now, but just keep in mind stocks that are this volatile and this prone to erratic behavior. There's a saying of stairs up, elevator down for a reason. What's interesting about this one, at least in this move of Palantir, it basically took the elevator up this time. So we'll see what that brings. But it's a long storied history of beats and cheats and dribs and drabs on Palantir. But here's where we are right now. So really impressive move, and it has had more staying power than honestly than I thought maybe it would have, and continuing to push up and over well into the 20s. So, I had sort of concerns about this 23 level, like was it really going to be able to hold that? And if not, how quickly is the fall toward 21 here? But it, put in a nice confirmation candle here, broke through, initial confirmation, rejected off of here, and then came down and reconfirmed this like $23 level. And right now trying to play basically between this 24.17 and 25.10 that we have on the chart. So, I'm sure it's making all of the Palantir bulls very happy out there, but I'm interested to see sort of how that plays out in the days and weeks ahead. Now, the levels that I have that are nearest in, like I said, 24.17 to the downside and 25.10 to the upside. If it can get some motion over that, and certainly then if it can break that 25.53, which again, just sort of erring on the side of a lot of this is probably psychological level driven, like the price level. So 25.50, right? I think it sort of nudged over 25.50, got to 25.53, and folks are a little bit like, I don't know if we're going to hold the price up here, and and then it peeled back a little bit. But like I said, that's happening at a higher and higher level than I had anticipated, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. But it's been impressive to watch. Now, if it does break through that 25.53, potentially there's something around that, like, again, psychological level of 26, then maybe 26.50. But the next most obvious strong level that I feel is on the chart is all the way up here at 26.79. So we'll see how that plays out and what that looks like. I don't think I had additional levels. I don't want to nauseate you by scrolling left quickly to check, but if it gets up toward that or through it and folks are interested, we can come take another look and see what additional levels may be up there. Now, if it does drop, 23.10, basically that approach back down to 23 and see what that looks like. I don't want to clutter up the chart too much. It does look like there's a level here around 21.85, something in the high 21s, maybe like just a bit below that $22 level. Again, folks may be wondering, if it dips below 22, is this a good buying opportunity? Are we really going to hold the price down here this low? Are we going to, sort of buy it up and so show some support here? But I'll leave that off for now because it's pretty thin price action. We'll see if it even continues to play out. But 21.21 I have on the chart, and then 20.01, obviously that approach to 20, and then 19.19, 18 on the dot, and then you're obviously in this gap through this range, right? So this gap it would get into at about 1976, and it wouldn't fill it until about 1787. So percentage-wise, pretty big gap, and speaking of percentage-wise, very far away right now. So it would have to have sort of a strong bleed out in order to get there. Not to say that it can't happen over the course of many, many months or what have you, but we'll see if it even comes into play or not. It just, Palantir has been a gappy stock, especially on earnings and with other types of catalysts where it has big reactions, often leaving gaps. And so we've seen this play out several times in the past, and have had some gaps that feel a little bit out of reach in certain time frames, and then it just ends up sort of working its way through there. So we'll see if that happens or not. But obviously, because it spent so much time down in these ranges previously, we have a bunch of levels down here, which I'm not going to get rid of just now. Again, if it continues to creep up and it's just cluttering up the chart and it's just sort of like catching the eye into places that don't necessarily matter anymore, then we'll go ahead and delete them off. But I'm going to leave them here for now. So let's flip over to the Think or Swim study and see what that chart looks like. All right, so we see here on the Think or Swim study, obviously, with such a huge push, we're way up out of the channel. Now, the question always becomes, what happens when we re-engage with the channel? Right now, it's not even treating the upper bound of the channel as support, which is a really strong move, which is sort of like what you saw for a few candles here, right? It was kind of treating this upper bound of the channel as support. It's not even having to do that for the for the time being. It's literally just floating out there above the channel, just kind of, crushing it up there. So, but that said, the channel is obviously dynamic, and so it's dragging the channel up. It's pulling all of the channel up as the price action is up there as well. So at some point, they're going to interact and intersect again. My question is going to be, what's it going to do then? Is it going to treat the upper bound as support like we saw over here, or even the green wave cloud, which already is outside of the upper bound of that channel, right? So does it treat the wave cloud or the upper bound of the channel as support? If so, that may mean that there is some additional bullish momentum that needs to be exhausted before it's going to pull back further. We do see the histogram continuing to pretty steadily tick up here. These, I get sort of questioning of how peaky these are becoming, but we'll see. I mean, this is still is quite a steady climb up as far as I'm concerned. And so, again, as far as bullish momentum goes, looking at that histogram, it's still putting in a nice round top there. But back to the channel, if it does pull back and it doesn't treat the wave cloud or the upper bound as support, and it does get literally into the channel, does it pull back far enough to retest the mid-range? Like I said, this channel, it moves as additional price action is put in, so these won't be here when the market is open and whatnot anymore, probably. But right now, if it were to pull all the way down and retest the mid-range of the channel, that right now has it situated in the 21s. So, quite a big percentage pullback if it were to do that. So we'll see how much more it has to sort of gain, given just how extended it is so far. I will also say, though, that, sometimes I feel like it's worth reminding folks that just because a stock is overbought, whether that's on the RSI indicator or, the visual of like this setup where it looks like it's overbought because it's way out of the channel, it doesn't mean that it can't still be bought. It doesn't mean that folks can't still just step in and buy it en masse and push it higher. That could certainly happen. Sometimes there's really good reasons why a stock is overbought or why it's pushed way out of the channel, and that momentum can continue. Same thing to the downside. Just because a stock is out of the lower bound of the channel, right, or it's considered oversold on the RSI, does not mean that anyone needs to come in and buy it. They can still just keep selling it. Shorts can come in and keep the bearish pressure on it, and it can continue to plummet. So I feel like for whatever reason, folks often just feel like it's oversold. It needs to be bought up. It's overbought. It needs to be sold off. Yeah, eventually, sure, like those things may happen, but it's not sort of like an immediate kind of thing all the time where it's oversold. Now people need to buy. But yeah, that's my that's my tangent on all of that. So this is just to say, I get a little bit, say, sketchy. I don't get sketchy. I get sketched out a little bit when, stocks are, kind of hovering up above here for a while, and especially stocks like Palantir that have just a history of extreme volatility and big, strong movements. And, oftentimes the pops have sold off. Maybe eventually that changes. Maybe this is the beginning of that change. But I do get a little bit hesitant when I see this sort of happening. So I didn't want to sort of pour cold water on the thing too much, which is why I wanted to say, just because it's up out of the upper bound of the channel doesn't mean that folks can't continue to push it higher. That could certainly happen. It's just my hesitancy in general with some of these stocks when I see them, really starting to push and get sort of air quotes overextended, how much more they can continue to move in that direction before a pullback is necessary. Okay, sorry for the dad rant there, whatever you want to call it. But in any case, I hope that you have enjoyed your long weekend. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.